College and we will be the MC for the day.
Now, before we begin our KMA session for today, let us start with a silent prayer. Thank you, everyone. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Adria Scarlett, Vice President of KMA, for the welcome address and introduction of the speaker.
President Bibu Kunduran, Chief Guest, esteemed Chief Guest, Mr. Jaber Abdul Wahab, past presidents, I can see Satya sir here, managing committee members, I can see Epan, I can see, I can see quite a lot of people. KMA members, student chapter members, invited guests, especially Abdul, brother of Jaber, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, one more managing committee. Tom, please come sit. Good evening and a warm welcome to each one of you to this exciting session of the Inspire series. It is truly a pleasure to be here this evening as we delve into a topic that resonates deeply with many of us, the evolution of family business, a journey of global expansion. Family businesses are backbone of our economy, blending tradition with innovation and embodying values passed down through the generations, with constantly adapting to modern challenges. In India, these enterprises play a monumental role, contributing to about 79% of our country's national GDP and accounting for 70% of job creation. With more than 85% of all businesses in India being family owned, their importance in driving economic growth and fostering entrepreneurship cannot be overstated. Tonight, we will explore how family enterprises can navigate these complexities of a challenging and changing global business landscape. About 30 years ago, I had the privilege of meeting a tall, charismatic gentleman at a gathering in Dubai. He had just relocated his business from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, and I was immediately impressed by his presentation and the confident aura he exuded. He introduced himself as being involved in supply and distribution of products for the oil and gas industry then. A few days later, I happened to cross paths with him again in the parking lot of our common office complex, Al Wahabi building in Garud. He emerged from his premium S-Class Mercedes-Benz, while I, with a touch of self-consciousness, found myself behind my rickety old Honda. Those were the days in Dubai with long siesta breaks. We frequently bumped with each other, exchanging warm greetings and casual conversations. At the time, I was managing international operations of the great Manu Chabria Group and always dressed in formal attire, business attire. The gentlemen we were referring to were ever curious, would often stop by to chat, showing great interest, genuine interest in management with global trade. And he had then distributing, I think, several Indian products, including basmati rice, etc., etc. I don't remember which all things at the time. I even visited his office, which was above my office, sharing and exchanging several things together and interacting. Time moved on, and I eventually relocated to Kochi. Years later, I learned that gentleman had become a leading public figure, also venturing into automobile dealer business, founding state-of-art residential schools, and developing properties including the iconic Central Mall in our city. His business had expanded significantly with the second generation steering growth across geography. When I was looking for a speaker who would inspire and provide valuable insights on family businesses, as usual, I was looking for somebody who was new to KMA, nobody has come in the last 65 years of our history. So I thought of the dynamic and the second generation leader, the son of the gentleman I met 3 decades ago, who this year is recognized by the renowned global consultancy firm Grey Matter and the leading newspaper Gulf News as one of the Super 100 Indian business leaders in the Middle East and Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great privilege to introduce to you a visionary leader who embodies entrepreneurship, innovation, and social responsibility, Mr. Jaber Abdul Wahab, Group CEO of Bridgeway Group. Mr. Jaber is a technocrat and a driving force in the regional corporate world, playing a pivotal role in diversifying and expanding the conglomerate. He has carried forward his father's legacy while infusing with fresh perspectives and forward-thinking strategies. His leadership spans numerous industries, and he has successfully led the family business to even greater heights across India, Africa, and the Middle East. The Bridgeway Group now employs around 10,000 people and comprises 38 leading brands across sectors such as automobile, retail, shipping and logistics, engineering and technology, real estate, trade and marketing, healthcare, education, and property management. Many of these brands have become leaders in their respective fields. Beyond business, Mr. Wahab is a committed social entrepreneur, dedicated to fostering education and humanitarian initiatives. His approach emphasizes technological integration and sustainable growth, creating positive societal and environmental impacts. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome Mr. Jaber Abdul Wahab. It is also my privilege and honor to welcome everyone here for today's Inspire Series session. A special warm welcome to all the respected past presidents here, esteemed managing committee members. Radha madam is there, Tom is there, Epan is there, quite a lot of people. Nice to see all of you and members present here. Especially I want to welcome also Abdul, who runs the Indus Motors and he was founded the Indus Go. Warm welcome Abdul is the brother of Jaber. Once again a warm welcome to all of you. Before the much awaited talk of our chief guest, let us hear from the President about presidential address from our President, Mr. Bibu Punaran. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Bibu P. Punanuran, President of KLA, for the presidential address.
A warm good evening to all of you once again this Friday, yet another Friday at KMA. Our chief guest of the day, Mr. Jaber Abdul Wahab, our Vice President and Program Committee Chair, Mr. Aljaz Khalid, Treasurer and Secretary in Charge, Dilip Narayanan, fellow Managing Committee members, past President Mr. Satyanarayan, dear fellow KMA members, my dear youngsters, people who are from the Young Minds program, as well as our student members. Once again, I welcome you to this meeting. Let me just tell you that today we have this evening meeting called the Inspire series, as we had announced right in the beginning of this KMA year, that every month we would be having an Inspire session for our youngsters. And today we are lucky to have Mr. Jaber. And let me take a quote about inspiration. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I'm sure that we have a leader out here. But then, leaders from the second generation, successful, the sons or daughters of second generation businessmen. A warm welcome to you, a special warm welcome to you, Mr. Abdul, youngest brother of Mr. Jaber. The reality in any business family is that it is very, very difficult for the son or a daughter or the sons of a very successful father to prove themselves. I think that's a very, very, very big difficulty. But here I think we have a family, we were chatting with each other, we have a family of 4 brothers who have kept up. I think Mr. Algiers was telling us about their father's journey from 30 years to what they are now. If you walk or drive in front of the Indus Motors here in Tevera, you will see one catchy slogan out there which says, every 15 minutes Indus sells a car. Okay, so that is the way the business is being driven by these brothers right now. And they were saying that now their father has taken a back seat. I'm sure Jaber will be explaining about all that, so I'm not getting into all that. But then every 15 minutes, the humble Maruti or this, is being sold by them. At the same time, they are also selling the mighty Mercedes across Kerala. So that is the way they are in the automobile space. But then they've got so many other businesses which Mr. Jaber will be talking about, and how they've grown globally and with an employee strength of about 10,000 people or more. And it would be great, these are the inspirational stories that we should be imbibing ourselves in. I'm talking mostly to the youngsters out here, because this is the Inspire series at KMA is dedicated for you. Imbibe whatever you can from leaders, young leaders such as Mr. Jaber, and continue your journey into being successful in life. And as Mr. Algiers has already mentioned, the group is quite huge. They have multiple businesses spread across the universe, in the world. And it would be great hearing from Mr. Jaber about their journey. Once again, I welcome all of you, and we look forward to hearing from you, Mr. Jaber. Thank you very much, and I request all of you to have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Now let us get to the most awaited part of the ceremony. I would like to invite Mr. Jaber Abdul Wahab, Group CEO of Bridgeway Group, Middle East, Africa and India, to address the gathering.
Great. A very warm evening to one and all who is present here. You know each other very well, and I'm the first. I'm coming here for the first time, so the names and positions would be quite new to me. So I'm taking the liberty to addressing you all as KMA members and committee members. Please bear with me with that. And I'm sure I'm a person who loves to interact and get to know people on a one-to-one basis. So that's the style that I go through on a regular basis. So thank you for having me. It was let's say it's a cold call from Mr. Algiers through LinkedIn, and then he connected with me, I think almost 2 months back, and then he has got his own stories connected with my father, and so we connected, and I was supposed to come last month, but then I was held up with some other commitments for last month, and then I promised him that I'll be here, and hope I can do justice to the weight that you guys have had. I think before we get to Bridgeway Group and the rest of the stories, I would like to take one quote from your president about inspiring. I think it's a lovely concept, having every Friday or every month, having a Friday where you get to hear from different people from different industries. I think kudos to you was setting it up, and I think it's a great challenge to bring in people into the stage. I think kudos to you. He was talking about getting inspired, and I'll start off with a small story that happened with me recently. I'm part of a networking group of business owners called Corporate Connections. It's growing rapidly in India. I started this journey 5 years back with them, and I'm the chair for that particular chapter in Dubai. And we've got a concept called Forum, where we discuss our concerns for that particular month. And I had my concern, I think it's almost 6-8 months back. I was feeling very, very jealous of few people around me, and that was actually eating into me. And so this is a forum where it's a 6 or 8 of us getting together and on a regular basis, monthly, and we can share our inner, concerns and everything. And it's a forum where it's completely non-judgmental, and no suggestions are given. It is just experience sharing. So I said, okay, I'm feeling jealous for this things are happening around me, and I'm feeling jealous. So a couple of people in that group gave me beautiful life experiences of them. They said, Jabir, if you're feeling jealous, that means you want it. Your needs are taken care of. You have your house, you have your basic food and everything. That means you want it. That is why you're feeling jealous of it. So let's ask yourself whether you really want it or not. If you really want it, then what are you doing for it? That completely opened up my mind. I was like, okay, I was blown back and said, okay, this is how I need to take up those feelings in me. If I'm feeling jealous, it means that I want it. And if I've checked that box, if I want it, what are the things that I need to get to it? So that is something that I remembered when you talked about inspiring. And so I would love to say that you may hear a lot of numbers flying around, like a lot of numbers and a lot of things going on. My experience in going through all these things is that please get inspired with one way or the other, which you can imbibe in your life in your own way. Every individual is unique. We all know that. The most senior-most people sitting here would have experienced it, would have felt it in them. But for the youngsters, that is what you will realize after a few years or few decades. So as early as you realize that, that is where your journey will start, with a lot of satisfaction, with a lot of content, and with a lot of happiness and growth. So that is what I have wanted to say right in the beginning, and I got inspired from you. Thank you, sir. So great. So Bridgeway Group, do you have a mic? So I can walk around with that. Is it okay? Thank you. As I shift my face around, I think the voice is modulating a little bit lower and higher, so more comfortable for me to have a mic. And one of my close friend also told me recently, Java, never give a presentation without a mic because your voice is very, very low normally. So have a mic so that it amplifies your voice. So I'm taking a cue from him again. So Bridgeway Group. Bridgeway Group started off in 1974 when the chairman, our father, went from Nellambur town, then I think it was a village, into Abu Dhabi and joined forces with his cousin who had already established a working relationship over there with one of the companies. So the cousin, cousin of my dad, my uncle, they both started a company, and in 80s my uncle moved back to India. He started his own journey in India. He left the business to my dad. He also left another part of his business to his in-laws also. So that's another story. Some of you may know that family also. So both the families from that particular point of time took a different turn altogether. The steep journey that in business, the two families in 80s and 90s was so steep. I think, again, I'm putting different context and everything here just to get inspired. My father had bought a plane in 1992-93 and I didn't know about it. So the driver, I was studying the school that he built in 1994, and the driver who was close to the family in the school told me, Java, just look up, your father is flying around. I was like, what are you saying? He said he bought a plane and he's bought it to Connecticut and he's flying around. So these are that tremendous amount of upliftment that the two families got at that particular point was unimaginable. So in 80s, the business was into supply of, let's say, equipments, spare parts to the government and to the oil field. So that was only one company at that point of time. And then in 1992, after the Gulf War, when the GCC market was again picking up, the chairman decided that he needs to diversify. He was seeing more future in other businesses rather than the business that he was into. So then he shifted his focus from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, and that's where he started diversifying into multiple industries. The first company that he invested was into Bridgeway shipping and logistics, and that's how the Bridgeway name came about. Before that, the Bridgeway name was not there. So he invested in one of the companies, one of his friends' company. He named the company as Bridgeway, and during the course of time, he had to take over the company because the company was not doing well, and that's how the Bridgeway name came to the family's fold. So from there, we invested in multiple businesses. We all manage close to 200 buildings in Dubai. So we manage the leasehold, the facility management, everything. That's called Bridgeway Real Estate. We've got Bridgeway Shipping and Logistics, where we take care of freight forwarding cargoes, which is transiting, which is not transiting into the UAE. We are one of the largest cargo handlers for exhibition centers. So we have been doing that business for more than 20 years. We also do packing and removals. So we pack anything, even we can pack factories and shift it to different other countries or states. We also can handle, we have got the expertise to handle heavy duty cargoes. So we can handle up to 400 tons of one single size cargo. So we have transported 400 ton of one single transformer through into the electricity and water sites. It's called DEWA, Dubai Electricity and Water Sites. So then we have got many other companies out here. I'll mention a few of them during my talk. The other company that I can mention now is probably the schools, which started in early 90s. The schools, we manage schools in Saudi and we own schools in Kerala. The schools that is owned in Kerala are purely for charity, pure. And that goes back to the community back again. My dad Some of you might know my grandfather, who's originally from Vedanikar. He was an educationalist. His cousin was an educationalist. So they both were very, very eager to do education, upliftment in the whole of the society. So he inspired the chairman to start a school. They said, let's start a school. It's going to only cost 2 crores. Ultimately, it ended up costing him 25 crores in 1992 to 1996. So it is a 25 acres of residential campus where we all studied. I think Aftal studied the whole of his life there. I started doing from my 8th grade till my 12th in PV's public school. So we have also got another school which is called PV's Model School, where it is for the public students over there. So the fees are very less. I think now the fees is reached somewhere close to 40,000 per year. And the other one, even now, PV's public school, the residential all put together comes around 4 lakhs plus, that's it. So the facilities and the cost structure and the revenue structure doesn't make sense. So it's purely for, for uplifting the whole community assets. And there is another college, which is a native college called Amal. And the whole management people sit under an umbrella called Best Education, which is called Bridgeway Education Systems and Training. So that's where the management of that whole organization sits under. So there are different other companies. I'll take one by one. This is about me. I'll just give you a brief of what's. I'm not sure. Do I look the same now and then? It keeps changing. So I don't know how my wife recognizes me, but it keeps changing depending on the attire and whether I'm shaven or not shaven, stuff like that. So my journey started. My professional journey started off after doing engineering in Crescent Engineering College in Chennai. I'm a mechanical engineer by education. I came out of in 2003 and joined in a company called Pacific Control Systems. Pacific Control Systems is a company who has linked 60,000 buildings in Dubai alone, for civil defense alarm system. So 60,000 buildings and houses are connected into a central system, and which is led by a very visionary leader called Dilip Ravlin. And I was working under him for almost a year as an intern. I was a project engineer. I was the one who implemented one of the IMAR projects in between 2003 and 2004 mid. After doing an internship over there, we took up. So what happened was, let me give you a brief of what was happening inside the family also. So in 2003 is the time when I came back to Dubai. I left UAE in 1992, and then I came back to Dubai in 2003. By the time I came back to Dubai, my dad was not there in UAE. He had shifted his base back to India, and very few people knew that he had shifted the base, because he was always traveling. He was always in and around. Every business that he had set up from 1991 till 2002, 2003 was being handed over. I mean, it was already handed over, it was already delegated and stuff like that. So when I came in, my father was not there in the business. He had moved from UAE back to Kerala. There was a mind shift in him, just because he had started a company called Mobile PVs, and Mobile is one of the largest companies in the world, and in those times it was the most highest market cap company in the world. So they had tied up with our family to store and distribute LPG gases throughout India, and the headquarters was in Chennai. I think they started off in mid-90s, and by around early 2000 they gave why they came to India is because Indian government gave the understanding that they would take off the subsidies from the LPG gases from the domestic market, and that was not happening. So they gave an ultimatum to the Indian government saying that if you do not take it off, then there's no business here, so we leave you. But the Indian government, due to political pressures couldn't do it. So they left. So after that, after reaching the point of having a almost 35-40% stake in that company. So he was among mobile companies anywhere in the world, he was the single largest shareholder in a joint venture with mobile. To have that 35-40% stake in a mobile company was huge. And he had traveled around the world, he had met a lot of people. So he came to a point where he said, okay, I'm moving away from business and he's going to social activities. So that is where he had taken a decision in his journey, and I was getting into business. I think that is completely unheard in any family-run businesses. He completely just left the businesses and to the people who were running it, and then I was joining him. So that is a scenario. And in 2004, he got into politics, and then he completely went into a social drive. And his second term, which was in 2014 or 15, is, I would say, inside the family, we would say that he became a complete politician as such. Till then, he was kind of only social worker, then he became a complete politician. Because by the time he understood the ropes of what to do as a politician, then it's a completely shift from moving as a businessman to politician. I'll give a story of that also. That could also be inspiring to a lot of people. Like this forum, there was a forum back in Sharjah for one of the events, and my dad was the chief guest, and one of the audience asked him, how do you find doing business and then moving into politics? So the answer that he gave is that in business, there is you actually take money for a service and you give it to somebody else, or it could be a product or a service. There's a transaction happening there. In politics, it was like same thing, but the product or service was hope. And the hope, you can take it from one area, give it to one area, and where you take it, you have got enough and more. I don't think it'll end. So that is what the transaction that he was doing. So that's a beautiful quote that he gave during that thing. So he was going through that journey. So in 2004, coming back to the journey for Bridgeway Group, we acquired a company which was into ship repairing and barge building. It was a company which had a turnover, which had jobs, but was not making money. And surprisingly, the GPs were good enough. So since a mechanical engineer, the group decided, let's get into that business. So the first company that I got into was into that. It was called Intergulf, a very beautiful company. People were there, machineries were there, job was there, but not making money. So when Dad had left the business, there were a lot of people in the company who were supporting the whole structure as it is. And there was a group structure, so there were 3-4 people there. So we all sat together and started looking into this company, and we found out that the processes were not right. There were a lot of money being churned out in different other sources, and one of the biggest was manpower management. Instead of having 2, there were 3 people going there. And on top of that, sometimes 2 was required, 2 was going, but it was recorded that 4 was doing that job. Because they were having, internal tie-ups with the supervisor saying that I'll take sick leave, you just put me into. And on top of that, they used to get, their salary plus their overtime also. Certain jobs would go overtime, so they would get that also. And the biggest finding that we found was that we could make a hell of a lot of money with scrap. Steel is always valuable. So ship repairing business had a lot of steel, and that if we managed it with good scrap, recycling of the scrap and taking and selling it off, we made that also. After a year and a half, we did all the changes. It was time for a kind of a push for the next stage, is when the working partner whom we took the majority stake from, he was jittery. For him, this was the first time that a professional company was coming in, sitting along with him and giving him guidelines of what to do and what not to do. He came out from one of the meetings with a lot of, let's say, not anger, he was upset. And I was upset also. Because we were trying to drive in the philosophies which you have set, which have already started giving results. Let's push, let's get to the next step. And in my youth, and in my push over this one, I said, you do this or you get out. So within a week, he came back and he said, I'm going to buy it for this company. So within 1.5 years, I was getting 1.5 times the return for that company. So then the executive members sat together and decided, Jawar, for you to run this company would be very difficult because you're young. This industry is so depth, you've got a lot of other things to look after. Let's sell it off. With very, very, heavy-heartedness, I had to let go of that company, and I made my first profit in 2006. Is where I quit that company and made a profit in that for the group. But I didn't feel like happy that time because I was heavy-hearted because I was thinking I could make more and more. So, but going back, I can feel that is my first success that I had. So Intergulf was truly a kind of a learning experience for me, a real life experience, which even though I had a heartbreak, I was making money on the other side also. Next was after 2006 is where I started getting into. So we have 4 brothers, and I am the eldest in the second generation. So the younger brother to me is Javed, Ajmal, and Akhtar. So we were in a state where the chairman is not involved in the business, and we had to look after the companies that is being formed and being running and growing. And 2006-07 is like a boom period in GCC, especially in Dubai. It's skyrocketing. So I had to jump into all these companies. After Intergulf, then I started looking at all the groups only on the strategic part of it. I left the day-to-day operations from that point of time and then got into the group. And the group, we were looking at each of the companies and seeing how we could do things better in each of the companies. One of the companies was into shipping and logistics. So they were doing pretty good. It was a young team, and from, let me just take you back a little bit, decade and a half back. Right from 1992 onwards, the chairman had done a beautiful strategy of delegating and empowering people right from that point of time when he diversified. His point of view of knowing a business, doing it by himself, and making a lot of money, and then getting diversified businesses, he took a different strategy altogether. Right from 1992, 93 onwards, he started delegating, empowering people in different areas. So by the time he left, most of the companies were running by themselves. So they had the responsibility, they had the hunger in them to grow. When we came in, some of the companies had a different agenda altogether with all these things. When there's a lot of delegation, when there's a lot of empowerment, it's a natural thing for human beings to take a different route. The attachment towards the company moved away, and some of them were only thinking for themselves. One of the examples was Bridgeway shipping, where the general manager was asking for too much. For example, I was talking to one of the professional from Maruti, where we go for the annual conferences every year. I was asking him, sir, what do you think is the ratio between a good profit and dividend? So he said, Jawar, 33, 33, 33. 33 is your dividend, 33 is your working capital for the next year for expansions, and 33 for reserves. So again, he was a very learned person, he was very successful in that company. Very aggressive, and he was one of the key people for us to get into the Maruti business also. So when I looked at Bridgeway shipping, this ratio was not sitting there, and it didn't make sense in any terms, not anywhere near. So we had to do the hard negotiations and stuff like that, and it was not working, and it's not getting drilled down or getting with different examples. Every year it was getting worse and worse. So that's where we brought in our second brother into this business, and he started looking after that company in 2008 onwards. Now, I think it's almost 15 years now, 15 years or more than 15 years that he's been at the helm. He started from scratch. Even though he was sitting as a director, he started from scratch. He was looking at each and everything, and he's the kind of a guy who will get along with anybody. Unlike me, he will get along from the day one minute, he can get connected to each and everybody. So he kept on doing things and again and again and again. Now, that particular company has expanded to 5 cities and 3 cities in GCC. 5 cities in Africa and 3 cities in GCC. So that's one learning that I started getting along with family business. This is my first lesson that I had to learn, is with a lot of delegation, with a lot of empowerment, we needed to have a lot of structure also in place. So if you look at our group, Aftal manages Indus Motors on a daily basis, and I speak to Aftal on Indus Motors maybe once or twice in a month, that's it. So with a lot of delegations, we need to have a lot of structure also put in place. And delegation is a very key factor in our Bridgeway group. For example, there is a business which is run, there are businesses where family members are present throughout the day, throughout the year. But there are businesses which is completely run by CEOs. Some of the companies are completely run by CEOs where the family member is not present. So we need to have structure for everything. So while talking about delegation, a lot of people find it difficult to delegate or find it difficult to understand when to delegate. In our scenario, it's just the opposite. The delegation is already done, and I'm also a very delegating person. How do you structure it? So that's where we decided that we need to know what is chunking up and chunking down. Chunking down is where, when we start giving a responsibility or empowering people to a certain, giving responsibility to do a job or a task of managing a particular company, is chunking down. So we sit with that particular person or group of people and understand what are the things that you need, what are the things that are expected from us, and what are the things that you're going to do. Let's discuss. We'll get to a stage where there will be answers, and there will be a stage where there will be no answers. That is where we go back and come back with again with the results from their learnings or our learnings, and that keeps going on for every now and then. Chunking up is where we talk about our goals and vision. I said, why do you want to do that? Asking ourselves and asking that particular person, why do you want to do that and how do you want to do it? Is chunking down. Why is chunking up? If you're talking about, let's say, I want to start a business in Qatar. So why do you want to do it? If you're going to Qatar, what is it that going to give back to your company here? So we keep asking this why, and that's called chunking up. So this process took us to a stage where we could structure internally how that particular company is going to be run. And that is where we found a lot of value in terms of getting to understand businesses and our people also. There's a saying in our company, which is, people come with a lot of ideas. Even we come with a lot of ideas as owners, as investors, as directors. If you don't have a person to take it up and to do it, to execute it, for us, that business idea or that process idea is useless for us. So we make sure if there is an idea, it has to be backed up by a person, and that person has to be empowered. And that is our motto for how we run businesses, multiple businesses. I'm just skipping through things in my mind to make it. The attention span for people who have been who have been listening to speeches for 10 years or 15 years back was 25 minutes. For now generation is hardly 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So I'm keeping that in my mind and then actually going ahead. So I've talked about the delegation. Now, this is one of our core values in our system, where we believe in our motto to the core. For us, business comes first. Along with that, fairness comes foremost. How do we be fair? How can I be fair to each and every angle of business members present? It could be the board, it could be the people, the colleagues that I'm working with, it could be the suppliers, it could be the clients, and that's a lifelong process. In business, there is always this give and take where you can't be exactly at the at equal. There's no equal term there. So how do we become more and more fair to the people around it? And that's why we practice a lot of internal feedback system. Even now, when I go back, I'll ask my brother, I'll ask brother to whom I've spoken a lot for the last 2 months. I'll say, how was my delivery? In your perspective, do you think that I could inspire at least few people in this room? And that is what we do in every aspect of our journey in the company. Is how can we as a company be more and more fairer as the days pass along? Since I've talked about perceptions, I find there is one more thing that I need to speak about is, my dad kept on saying to me for a very long time, almost 15 years, Java, you're right, I am right, the third person is also right, and there's a universal truth. If you accept that, then your life is going to be more peaceful. I understood it. I completely understood it for the last 15 years. But it's only in the last 1 year, or maybe 1.5 years, I internalized it. I had a kind of a very emotional issue with one of my board members. And I was fighting it out in my mind. But once this concept of he's also right, I am also right, and there's a universal truth, let's see how we can move forward. So that is one learning that I got through, I'm not sure, how many of you have done NLP courses here? Neuro-linguistic programming courses? I think I did a course. It's a 6-day course of 12 hours daily. I think it was 2 years back from November 29th till December 4th or 5th. That actually opened my mind. I had all these concepts told me through different conferences, to different people, to different mentors. But that particular course, the coach was extremely good. That actually made me to internalize the factor that how I can see different people and live with them on a continuous basis. And that could be a family member, that could be my colleagues in the company, that could be my nearest, my wife, my kids, and the larger society as such. So I think that is one thing that I have imbibed in my present day and moving forward. How do I deal with board members and how do we structure it? So as these years passed along, 2 of my brothers also joined, Ajmer and After, and my cousins also joined. So first time in the family, a lady member, cousin of ours, joined the family business, and she's taking care of Royal Enfield dealership, couple of them, and she's also highly energetic and moving along. So all these people are coming along. I need to manage all these things. I need to manage feelings, and that is something which I have learned very recently. If you look at Abdul, who's sitting here, he's a very aggressive person in terms of numbers. Data is the core thing that he wants on any meetings. And for him, he will drill down to the factor that, why is it like that? So understanding him and why he is doing that and what is that outcome that he's looking for at the end of the day is what I have to be very patient and I have to be understanding in that part of it. So my third brother, who is very diplomatic, very, very diplomatic. If you speak to him, he's the best person that you know. He can solve any issues with anybody. And by birth he's like that. I think it's because he's in the middle between Amma. He can solve anything, so any problems that after you speak to him on a daily basis, at least for 15-20 minutes on a continuous basis. So these are the things that what we have done now in family board and constitution is for the last 3 years, 4 years, and thanks to COVID, there are a lot of no's to COVID, but yes to COVID is that I was struggling to set up a conference room like this in my company because my company is completely spread out. We have got offices in Africa, in Middle East, in India, and India, after it's just one office, we have got 200 outlets in Kerala. So how do I, make this a conference room where I could speak to each one of them and get everybody's attention? And those times the quote was, I think, present quote maybe 5 lakhs per room, 5-6 lakhs, at least for a very small setup. After COVID, even the mindset changed. People are ready to listen to you on a video call. So what we did for the last 3-4 years is we have a board meeting every Wednesday, 4 p.m. India time. Every Wednesday. And that's been happening continuously. If Wednesday doesn't happen, if some of us are traveling, we have got a Saturday as a reserve day. So if Wednesday doesn't happen, then Saturday automatically becomes that particular day. So even if somebody is traveling, then he knows, okay, I have to sacrifice Saturday for it. So in their calendar, these Wednesdays are almost blocked for our board meetings. So we take up one company for almost 1.5 hours. It's in-depth knowledge. So after this data driving team has now started using Power BI for the last 2 years, and now that we get in-depth data of each and every company, and we use 1 more hour to get us updated with a lot of other things, what is happening around. So we take up each and every company. So there are a lot of companies that we manage, a lot of companies we invest, and there are a lot of companies we stay as silent. So we look at all of these things on a Wednesday. And we have also started into family constitution. So the first step is done, where our 4 brothers have sat down with a professional from SPJ, and then we actually have chartered our responsibilities, our duties, and what is our benefits. And that is just the first step, because there's a lot of other things that we need to do in the family constitution. So that's what's happening in present. I think few of the learnings that I can pass on to you is, again, this is again the first point, is something which we keep always in our mind. We as a Bridgeway group would love to be agile at any point of time. Business, especially now, is changing at a rapid pace. An accountant could have his child be an accountant, even his grandchild be an accountant 40 years back. We have seen that. And that not only just that profession, any profession that you take, there were people planning for the same profession for at least 2-3 generations. Now that's not the scenario. It is changing. It is changing at a rapid pace of 3 to 5 years. You don't know what's going to happen. So even in businesses, we have taken a decision to have youngsters at the top level. We want to have youngsters. We want to have 25 to 35-year-old individuals in the company giving us feedbacks on the top level, on the board level. So we interact with these individuals who are at that age to help us run organizations, huge organizations. It could be consultants, it could be inside the company, it could be in different forms. But we have taken a decision to involve youngsters into the company. For example, we are hiring interns on a regular basis. So they would be in the company for maybe 2 to 3 months. But the amount of knowledge that we gain from these people is tremendous. For example, simple thing. We have got 1,000 acres of estate in Wayanad, in one of the estates. And youngsters who came from IIM, which was IIM? Raipur. And then they came up with a solution of having this automatic tea plucking machine. They gave us a solution, they left after 3 months. But look at this scenario, it took us 2 years to implement it. But still we were very happy. Because even though it took 2 years or 1.5 years for us to implement it, the idea came from them. The inspiration came from them. It didn't come from the people who have been working there for 20, 30 years as managers or as supervisors or we as owners for 20, 25 years. So this is something that we have been doing on a regular basis. As I said, I've already explained of patience and active listening. That's what I personally have learned in the last few years. I haven't touched upon that point. I'll touch that and then I'll probably close this talk. When you do a lot of delegation, empowerment, especially empowerment, you are threatened. The knowledge, the space that you give to them, you are threatened in you. You are losing that space in the company, in that space of business environment. You are losing everything. How do you create yourself to be more valuable when you empower people is something that you need to ask yourself. I keep asking myself for every meeting that I go. I make sure that I leave at least one idea, one inspiring story, or anything that I can do, at least one of them in every meeting that I go. And that is the mindset that I have for every meeting. For me as such, I'm not involved in the day-to-day business of any of the companies that is in Bridgeway Group. But my role in the company is to leave one impactful thing on the table before I leave that meeting. And I feel that when you empower people, you as a leader should have that mindset to make sure that you impact that a particular meeting or an event, no matter what. It could be small percentage, it could be a large percentage. I'm not bothered about it. I'm going to leave at least a small iota of inspiration or learning into that meeting. And that's how I believe in myself to overcome the fear of being obsolete when we go for empowerment or delegation. So with all these things put in place, I've told my dad's story, which is not there. We call ourselves as not second generation, we call ourselves as 1.5 generation because we have got the assets, the principles all set by the first generation. They were not there to handhold us in that journey. So we are almost like a first generation doing a lot of things on ourselves. So that's why we call ourselves as 1.5 generation. We have got all the pluses and minuses of being that. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable insight. Now the stage is open for questions.
You said you have such a large number of family people involved. At what stage would you consider a succession plan? You all are young, but next plan for
I am considering to step down as a group CEO for the next few years. So we are creating a platform where the operational things what I take care of now, not in terms of the day-to-day operations, I think within the next few years. And I'm prepared. Okay, I've got an answer. A lot of people have been asking that. My dad, I'm not sure, not many people know that my dad's father was also a politician. So he was more of a social worker politician. He was working for IUML for many, many decades. And so my father had that flair, and then he joined here. That for us, our primary responsibility is for business. And when the time is there, we are giving back to the society. In what form, in which capacity, I'm leaving it to the God to decide. For us, politics is just one way of giving back to society. So, if, for example, my dad is now an MP and I think his term is ending in 2027. If you look at his, his hierarchical, so he has got two brothers who is active, one brother actively in social activities, 4 sons. So, are we going to fight for one MP within ourselves? So that's not a practical thing to think on those lines. And I feel the party itself has got a lot of eligible people around. So our aim is to give back society every day, and that when we get the opportunity, we'll do it in different ways. And as the years pass on, I'm sure that opportunities will come up in different fashions. We're keeping our minds very open, and that is how we have. I think that's one thing that I loved about my father is that he had kept a lot of options open, and so he is very content as a person and very ambitious in one other aspect. So balancing it is one way of doing it through this manner.
How do you manage 200? I think the question should go to Abdul. How do you, and that's just one part. Mercedes also has so many operations, so many schools. It's once a month, is it sufficient to handle all these things? 1 hour?
I think in our core group itself, there are approximately 20-25 people looking at just the group level. So there are a lot of people who are looking for us. So that level of trust and delegation is happening. And we believe that if you look at managing one particular company of maybe 10-15 people, it would take 24 hours of your time. Very simple as that. So there's no point in trying to grab each and every company into your fold and saying, oh, I'm the one who's holding it. And I need to tell you this also. A lot of people, you have the perception that a lot of people are doing that. If they're doing it successfully for a very long time, they have good people with them. And our chairman has kept on repeatedly saying that we are blessed to have people with integrity, trust, and performance. That keeps varying in degree to people, but we have got the combinations happening. And we also believe that the people that we give entrust our companies to, the top levels, for example, CEOs who is taking care of the company on a day-to-day basis, our rule is that he or she will not be involved in any other business actively. He or she can have passive, investments here and there in stocks and stuff like that, but active one. And if it's not there, we'll find people who can run it. and we'll also find people's succession plan for them also. So there is a company which we do MEP and firefighting, electromechanical works and firefighting, both in UAE and both in Saudi. We've already now, the person who's handling this he's from Cochin area, so he is almost touching now 55, something like that. So we've already got another person who's going to succeed him. So he's on the road now, and he's going, within the next 5 to 10 years he's going to take up. That is what. So.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Thank you very, thought-generating talk that he gave. I forget the name of the book, but there was about 15-20 years ago, there was an American study which said that family businesses used to be completely professionalized by third generation, because they said the first generation works hard to build up, the second generation sees. By the time the third generation comes in, they have actually, they don't have to struggle anymore. And lots of business, like including the automobile business of some of the US companies, they all vanished. So what is your thought on it? That should you totally professionalize, or family members should get involved? What is your experience from what you've said?
For us, luckily, we are very diversified. So people with hunger inside the company, there are a lot of opportunities. These examples also come, this is also applicable to us, what you said. For us, we have got one advantage, that we have got a lot of members coming in, a lot of businesses also. So if there is hunger in them, they can take it up. Or we'll find other ways to do it. So we've already established that ways where the family member is not there running it on a day-to-day basis. We are doing it in a structured way, and we have got a long way to go too. So we can manage it, is what I believe.
One question, sir. See, some of the businesses will have that natural death. How do you guess that, and how do you exit that business?
In my life, in business life, I've closed down one company, I think in somewhere before 2000, or just after 2010, I suppose. We were doing cassette duplication, where we used to get the rights to duplicate cassettes for certain audio cassettes in UAE, and that business was dying. We knew, everybody knew, because instead of cassette players, CD players started coming in the cars. So we thought, okay, let's look into the CD players. While looking into it, within the next 3-4 months, we understood that CD is also fading it out. USBs were coming into place. So we said, okay, let's close down the company. It's because the whole industry was changing at a rapid pace where we were not able to get hold of them. So that particular company closed down, and I was the one to take that decision. And we made, during last few years, we made with some losses, but overall it was okay, it's fine. There's one company which has been mentioned, but it is there. In 2002, we started, 2002 we started a brand of watches called D4 Swiss and multi-brand outlets called City Moments. So City Moments was present in 43 outlets of Lulu. 43 outlets. We had kiosks, multiple kiosks of 43. And then now we just have got 3 and we're facing it down. We have faced it down for the last few years, and because that business doesn't make sense for us anymore. Because the margins have come down drastically. But we are going to go heavily on that brand called D4, which we hold our patent and trademark to. So we'll go along with that route. But the multi-brand business is not making sense for us. Not for everyone. It's not making sense for us. So 2 companies which where we have phased out is a couple of them. Sorry.
Sir, after listening to you, I have only one doubt. Instead of you appointing people from or approaching IAMs and all, how many IIMs will be approaching you in the coming years for the kind of spectrum and wide range?
I didn't mention one point while introducing him. They have a tie-up with the Indian Institute of Indian Institute of Technology, if I'm not written. Yeah, they have a tie-up for, I don't know what exactly it is that.
Just an hour's time, the kind of band.
Yes, so we are again very diversified, and some of them are SMEs, some of them are large, some of them are large corporates also. So recently, this is more of a CSR activity, and IIT Chennai, we tied up with IIT Chennai and IIT Madras to have, let's say in a simpler fashion, a junior engineer course in the schools of our hometown. A government school, a differently able school, and our school also. So we tied up with them to have a junior engineering course from the grade of 9 till 12, so that they design, they produce and create a case study every year with different products. So that's what, so we get multiple collaborations with different people. So now my next opportunity is to tie up with one of the South African universities to create a course for bureaucrats. That's again for the social angle, so that the bureaucrats come together in one forum and learn, so that they become buddies in a classroom. So and then they do better for the society. So these are the things that we collaborate. I understand. For us, that's the first part of the question, is that in some of the businesses, we are SMEs. Some of them are large corporates. So even though we are very diversified, IIMs and for example, may not be interested. They may not be interested in us. But certain, for example, Indus Motors, the case study has been in Harvard recently. I think 3 weeks back, one month back. So the case study of inventory management of Indus Motors is being published in Harvard Business Review. So we have got that, and I'm giving a very generalistic answer because we have got all the points put together.
My question is, can I? Yeah, here, when you delegate this authority and empowerment, how do you make sure that the trust factor?
So when we do that, we already would have a history with the person that we are dealing with, and on top of that, we also do a lot of structural sessions with them in terms of, these are the things that is being expected out of you. We'll ask what is your expectation with us, and with that we'll chart down the role and the expectations and the results that what we need, and then we'll keep seeing it on a month on month basis and see if it's working or not. If it's not working, if it's working, we'll continue. And that's always in any scenario in life, you have to take the chance.
Another question relates to what I observed these days. In most cases, not all cases, in most cases, the second generation leadership, they are taking risk and they are land up in the trouble. Some are really, for instance, Popular Finance, another company which I know, many things.
That's the only way that we're going to learn. I've lost a lot of millions. I've lost a lot of millions. I've lost. I can openly say that that's the only way that we're going to learn. Making those mistakes. That's why I said 1.5 generations. And most of the decisions was taken by us, taken by me, and taken by somebody, my board members. And my father is just saying okay to it. I mean, he's not saying okay to the investment. He only knows after it's lost, and after many months of being lost. That's why he said we are 1.5 generations. We are, so he's not there on the day-to-day basis to tell us what to do, what not to do. But that's the only way that each one of us, for example, let me just get back to each one of us as a personal, on a personal level. The way that I spend my money is different from how my brother spends, how my wife spends, and how my children is going to spend. Each one has got their own style of spending money and earning money also. If you look at it, every individual has got their own style. And they have to go through a learning process of losing and earning money. Spending money, investing money, losing it, earning it. And that's the only way that that particular individual is going to learn and move forward. If you're going to restrict that learning process beyond a limit, is actually against what we believe of empowerment. And that's again, that as a family, we do that with a lot of inbuilt, inbuilt skill set of dedication. But what I feel is that that is where we find a lot of beautiful journeys.
One last observation for the students: according to you, what are the skill set needed for the 21st century for the students in the coming decades?
I think personal, emotional intelligence will play a key role in the next generation. For them, learning a skill set will be easy for them. Managing people with a lot of emotional intelligence is the next biggest challenge that people will find. You've already seen a lot of psychologists earning more money than any other professions now. We feel that as the year passes and as the transparency keeps on increasing with digital transformation, we feel that we are getting more and more empowered. But on the other side, there's a lot of challenges with emotional intelligence. So I believe that everybody has to go through that course right from the young age of emotional intelligence in one form or the other. Either in the grades that you study as a major subject or a minor subject or an outside course, please do it, is my advice.
Hi boss, my name is Vincent. This is regarding your family constitution.
This would be the last question, please.
Family constitution. Is it a part of estate planning or something?
A family constitution is not, we have not reached that estate planning as of yet. Estate planning is happening separately. Family constitution is pertaining to the roles and responsibilities of an individual in the family and the businesses.
Is it all? I think it's a part of estate planning.
It's part of the larger estate planning, but it doesn't talk about just assets at all. It's more to do with the family constitution. What we are doing in the first stage is more to do on our responsibilities and duties and benefits what we are going to get.
Thank you, sir. We have the release of our KMA newsletter. Our editor, Mr. Baiju Manipal, is on his way and is stuck in traffic. So unfortunately, he can't join us today. Requesting our president, Mr. Binu Punuran, to hand over the newsletter to our chief guest to release and give the first copy to our past president, Mr. Satyanarayana.
This is coming back to business, huh? I'm not joking. This is going to be the future. Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Dilip Narayanan, Treasurer KMA, for the vote of thanks.
Mr. President, Bibu Pundojan, Chief Guest Mr. Jaber, Mr. LGS Khalid, past presidents, managing committee members, and my dear KMA members. When I was listening to Mr. Jaber, the kind of erudition he has exposed, I was remembering and academician from US who said very famously, family businesses don't just pass down wealth. Family businesses pass down values, traditions, and conventions. And that was very evident. The way he conducted himself, the way he talked about various learnings, the wisdom Wednesdays. That was an amazing concept. I was so amazed to see that consistently he was talking about around 250, or I don't know, some number you said, no? With 250, consistently they were meeting on every week. There is that, I think that's the single most important point. All of us can know consistency in doing something. And the Wahabika, all of us know, especially from us who are from Malappuram district. I'm also from Malappuram district. We know how he conducts and how he is, the way the social responsibility and societal responsibility is part of business. All of us, the members of Kerala Management Association, the students are really grateful to you for the simplicity, for the talk you gave from your heart. It was not a management expert talking about some lessons, but from very practical, very easy to understand, very relatable to all of us. Most of us are business. Very relatable, all these incidents and sharing, and he was the magnanimity to always talk about his youngest brother who was in this business. So these are our values. So all of us are getting inspired by that. Thank you for the profundity of. May I request Mr. Ethan to hand over a token of love to our chief guest, managing committee member and Crown Plaza. Thank you all for joining, and kindly continue to come and attend regular weekly meetings. Thank you.
Now I request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
activities.